Righto, so here we go again, Dale.
Welcome back, eh?
Yep, episode 3. So I'm not going to get bogged down tonight on where we've come from. If people want to see that, they can go back and see it.
Yep.
So we've got the slides going as we have in the past.
Yep.
And I've got a few, so we're going to have to get through them.
We have got a few.
And we're obviously going to cover from where we left off. So Heather and I are now courting solid.
Serious.
Had the 21st, the debutante balls,
Yep.
all those things, they're all last time. So I'm now working at the motel in the family business, and there's not a lot on that tonight because I'm learning the ropes there,
Yep.
and we'll get to that in the next one. But the panel van, so that's where life's really at the moment. So we've got out of the bikes, got the panel van, started to go to a couple of shows. So the first shot there is before I even went to a show, so I'd already started to tinker a bit, put a set of wheels on it. Pretty much the rest of it looks stock, and then I'd had it a few months, and I heard the van nats were on down in Mildura. So I said to Heather, let's zip down there and have a look.
Yep.
Of course, Dad wasn't real happy about that, so her dad. So she wasn't allowed to go. So I've gone down just for the weekend, had a bit of a look, and that photo there I'm pretty sure is the right photo for that event. And went down and had a look, got the bug.
Yep.
As you do,
Yep.
seeing what other people were doing, and the van scene at that stage had really just started to get mobile, and I'd already started a little bit, so the trim shot there was pretty much where I was up to by the time I'd got down there. So mate of mine was the trimmer, and I was doing the timber work, and then I'd go around there and get him to give me a hand, or I'd give him a hand, and we were sort of starting to make a bit of ground. And of course, once I got down there and seen what other people are doing, you get a few more ideas. So we'd sort of moved on from that, and then what I'd seen there, and I'm sort of working every weekend and doing bits on it, and the next show that was on was Hall's Gap, so down in Victoria.
Yep.
And I'd been going out with Heather now about 4 or 5 months, so petition was given for us to go, mate. So,
Yes.
so we packed up and headed off for Easter at Hall's Gap, and that photo there, that's my first grab at the old panoramic, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can do that fancy stuff on the phones these days, but back in the day, you'd have to stitch a few photos together like that.
So I don't know how
Works
big
well.
a camera I had back then, but it looks like there was 3 photos to make that up. So the first year we went there, I think there was about 100 vans, and I've got a feeling that might be the next year that we went in 79. So this is 78. So
Yep.
this is Easter 78.
Yep.
And we were camping, as you can see there.
Roughing it, yes.
Mate, yep. And that's some of the crew from Broken Hill. I don't remember all the names, but
It's only 44 years.
40. It's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
It's a while. Yeah.
So 44 years ago.
Yep.
And I reckon this is a bit early, this shot, but I've put it in now because it's all part of what we were heading down the track with. So, you got the van, it's always about camping.
Yep.
So I bought that tent, and you can see the zippers and a bit of the side hanging down there. That all unzipped, and you back the van in, so you could open the doors, the barn doors inside the tent, and then it had a couple of poles that tied down. So at night you could actually
Luxury.
sleep in the van
Luxury.
with the doors open.
Yeah.
Because
Mozzie's out.
I don't know whether you've slept in too many cars, but it's not very comfortable.
No, it's not.
Even if with the van, you can lay down in the van, but
Yep.
the difficulty is you've got no air. So I set the tent up, and then we started to get a bit more organised when we went off to the events. So that's pretty much how it looked at that first Easter show. And then I'd started obviously tinkering in the engine bay as well. So you can see there the number plate change will come shortly, which gives me a bit of a guide
Yep.
where they're at, because I've been digging all these photos out from all over, but it's hard to remember exactly what happened.
There's a bit of water under that bridge, Howard.
There is, mate. So you can see the trim wise, it's pretty much stock except seat covers, and I've removed the console and put a Cortina console in it. And I remember I was in
That was a
spares
trend.
then,
Yep.
and I bought that brand new at the time because current car, it was quite cost effective.
Yep.
So I put that in, and that enabled us to be able to climb through the archway into the back, but also if you wanted to throw an extra person in the middle. And Heather had a little poodle, so the poodle used to sit in the middle and do a bit of surfing, when you go in the corner.
Yeah,
the dog does the head.
Play corners with the
Play
dog.
corners with the dog. So the dog used to perch up in the middle. And then starting to progress in the back a bit. So
Bit of bling.
and a couple of the old cans, mate. I don't know if I could get too many of them into me now, the old West End. but they were always the drink of choice back then.
Easy when you're 21.
That's it, mate. It's a bit like drinking Foster's, isn't it? So, yeah, the hood lining's now covered up with the foam and a bit of the old mirror tile happening. And then the overhead console.
Very aircraft-like, isn't it?
It is very aircraft-like.
It was a big trend.
So that was a bit of road sign cut down and then some holes drilled and the little switches, and they controlled all the speakers. So there were speakers in the kick panels,
Yep.
in the archway facing forward,
Okay.
and then some in the back doors as well. So if you're at a party, you could turn the cabin ones off and have the back doors open, Mr. Music.
Yep.
Or you could turn the back ones off when you're travelling, just have the front, or turn them all off and the wires hanging down with the headphones, mate. So you could,
Hey. Wasn't wireless, but...
wasn't wireless, but it was, imagine if the cops seen you coming and you both got it. Anyway, we never got pulled over for that. We got pulled over for a lot of other things, but never got that. So this one was in the last episode. So this was a trip we went up to Menindee, and that same, a couple of months later, from what I can work out with the photos, it's another one of my little panos. So that's the Broken Hill Club, and that's down at the old North Mine, in the car park down there. And then this shot now, things are starting to progress a little bit, so we've changed the grille.
Yep.
And it's just looking clean. It's got the wheel arch moulds now off the GT, off the XB GT.
Yep.
And we're now heading off to Whyalla, so we're September 78 now. And once again, we had a little snippet of that in the last one. And that was the campsite there where we're all camped up there. And there was quite a few of us from the hill, Broken Hill went there. And another one of my panos there. Didn't quite line up like it was meant to, but...
you get the idea.
Gives you an idea.
Yep.
So I'm right on the right hand side there, the pano that's in half. You can see, yeah, that's it. So there she is there. Mate, what about that?
Back in the day. There's a bit of Chopper Reed look about you there,
You
Howard.
like the aviators, mate?
Yeah, it is.
Eh?
It's a good fashion statement.
So 78, mate, 78. And of course we've seen, so that was the first trophy. So I've got the bug now and we're sort of working out where we're going to go and what we're going to do. So the next show we go to then, so most of these shows you sort of Friday night, knock off work, get in the van, drive down, get up Saturday morning, wash the car, get organised. Show was normally on the Sunday, which was always a bit of a bugbear to me, but the show was on the Sunday. You'd set up, do the show and shine, wait for presentations, and then hike it back home. But for us, it was normally, between 5 and 8 hour drive home. So if prezos were late, and they're meant to be on at 4, all of a sudden you're not leaving until 5, and then you got to drive home. So that's what we did. So the next was Bendigo, and it's a pretty good show on there. I reckon there'd be 100 odd vans there on the oval.
It was a big scene.
It was, and it was growing. And I mean, this was all, and we were doing all this in that 1 year. It was sort of going on. So the trophy stepped up a bit. So that's that one there.
Ooh.
Better watch the van don't fall off the top, because most of them do.
Yep.
So that was that one. So like I said last week, they're starting to grow a bit.
Yep.
And we're moving up. So, another one done and dusted really. And then the next photo there, you can see we're back down the workshop again. So that's the hoist I was saying about on the last episode.
Yes.
So that was one of those oil charge ones, with the single ram with a couple of lumps of railway line.
You'd see them in the old servos.
That's the one. Yep. So that was outside, but it was really handy to be able to do some work on. But you might notice the old glass Coke bottle, mate, the old 750 on the go, working out in the sun.
Yes.
So what was happening there was a cam change. So I reckon we'd gone to a TQ20 at that stage, set of extractors, an aluminium manifold and a 600.
Bit of an improvement over standard, Howard.
The problem was, mate, and you might have heard, but these cars when they new had 0 mile per gallon. They were a shocker.
Yep.
And I mean, if we were travelling at speed to Adelaide, it's only 520 k's, you couldn't get there. You had to stop halfway and fill up. So the aim was a little bit more power, but primarily was a bit more fuel economy because they were atrocious.
Yep.
So that was just one of those jobs that had to be done. So we've sort of gone nearly full circle now. So we're back to Christmas 78 now, and we're headed back down to Mildura for the van that's down there. And things are moving on, as you can see there.
You have got the bug big time, haven't
you? Oh yeah, it's all go. So it's every couple of months we're off somewhere to a show, and got the aluminium deckies, in the background there.
And all the upgrades in between.
And different spoiler now. I don't know if I like that one. I don't know how that managed to do that. And I dropped the number plate down, seeing we got the front spoiler on.
Yep.
That one probably didn't last long, mate. They never
Not driving around the hill.
No. So Heather came down that time. We camped on the oval there, and that was sort of that real stage where we were starting to move on and things were happening. And I don't really know what happened here, but you see the carpet?
It was on special. That's all I have to say.
I don't know how I would have ever have done that, but
it matched the back.
It did match the back.
That's,
so
there's probably points in that. There's probably points for.
I'm not sure what I was thinking, but Anyhow, it was wasn't even the 80s yet. It was still 79. So the bar's all in, all operating. So all of those bits and pieces in the back there that you can see, the night, the chandeliers, all those things, they all came as presents from the 21st. So when the gift register was put together, what do you need? I need this, I need this, I need this, I need a stove to cook on when we're camping, and I need so it was all about the van and going to van shows and being able to do that. So all of those bits and pieces were from family and friends, and the engine was still evolving. Can't see too much change there, but we've got rid of the rubber mat off the top of the radiator and gone to a bit of stainless or something.
I've even got a fire extinguisher in there. I saw how
there is a fire extinguisher in there. That's a little bit of a story behind that, because realistically a fire extinguisher under the bonnet's not a lot of good to you if the engine's on fire.
Not if it's on fire, no.
It's good if you've got a fire inside and you need one, except you can't pop the bonnet. But back in the van days, when they did the judging, basically the judging sheet had a whole lot of items on it. And one of those was fire extinguisher, first aid kit, tool kit. And if you had them, you got a tick. And if you had two, you might have got 2 ticks. So what we were all about back then was to get as many ticks as you can.
Well, I mean, if you're going to win something, you got to appeal to the judges, haven't you?
That's it. And I mean, because it was my daily, and I'm sort of going to van shows, I really wasn't quite up at that point, and it was brand new, to be putting wheel arches and graphics and all that sort of stuff on it, because that all ticked another box and got you more points. So I was still sort of trying to keep the clean look but maximising my points. So we were moving on. So that's got us through until early 79, and we've had a bit of an accident.
Not your fault.
Not this time. No.
Not this time.
Not this time.
Not like
so
motorbikes.
We're in William Street. Someone's come through a giveaway in a little Voltsy, cleaned them up. I've swerved, bang, took the side out, so bumper, guard, door into the quarter. I had to hold Heather back. She was heading over to take this woman out. Heather can be a bit fiery sometimes, so we calmed all that down and was insured, obviously. So we worked through that, and I arranged to get the car repaired at a guy by the name of Bill Coffey, and he was renowned in the town as a good painter and a good operator. And I'd sort of known, everyone knows everyone, small town. And so I had a chat to Bill, and he quoted it up for insurance, and then I give him a hand and we stripped it out and we did a full respray on it. So at this point in time, it's only, 2 years old, I think? Yeah.
Yep.
So as you can see in the photos there, so it's had a bit of a full workout. And
you didn't leave much behind, did you?
You see Bill hanging through the window there with the slapper bar going on the quarter. So he's getting into that, and pretty much, all round, tidy up all the loose ends. And you can see the 2 guys at the back of the van there. So the little short guy, or the shorter guy with the head of hair, that's Bill. And then the other guy there is Gary Dart. Now it turned out in the long term that Gary was a bit of a Ford guy, and he'd had quite a number of cars, and I knew Gary a bit, but more so after this process. And Gary ended up the guy that painted the next car.
Okay.
Both times, both in the acrylic and the 2-pack. So we'll be covering that in the next episode. So yeah, it was start of something there. So this would have been acrylic.
Off the gun.
Off the gun. Probably would have been given a bit of a lick with the wand. Gazzy used to like the wand. So then, while that was getting done, I decided I needed a rear roof wing, but I didn't like the sort of up swoop, the Mad Maxi looking stuff. So I'd found that the wagons had that aerofoil look about them, and I liked that look. And the one I ended up using was I bought off a brand new Valiant in 78, 9, whatever model that was, and extended the sides down with a bit of fiberglass because Dad had a bit of fiberglass stuff still laying around from the boats. So I modified that up and got that to fit. And then the next photo there with the colour, you can see it sitting on the back there, and it
Blends
just
in nicely.
yeah, it sat into the drip gutter.
Yep.
A couple of holes in the roof, and all good. So the car's now back down at Dad's workshop, where the plumbers hang out, and the next one there's my mate Fuzz and myself trying to work out how to put bubble windows in. So
You've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
yeah, and I don't quite know how I went about buying those, because back then there was no internet to go and find them, so I must have known someone.
Catalogue somewhere.
Might have been in Van Wheels, mate.
Maybe.
Van Wheels
magazines were a big.
So there's me and Fuzz. Got a few toilet suites in the background.
Well, it was a plumber's shed.
It was a plumber's shed.
Yep.
So all this now is starting to come together. So that's February 79, and then we want to go back to Halls Gap at Easter time. So it's a bit of a rush on as usual. So that's the same shot we had earlier, but the more I think about it, I reckon that was the second year, and that year there was 240 entrants at Halls Gap.
That's a heck of a lot of vans.
For that event.
It's a lot of nervous mothers and fathers of their daughters, I'm sure. But
and I've forgotten about it until just looking at that now, but they used to have what they called a van pool.
Okay.
So they'd get the two vans, and if they had tow bars, they'd hook the two vans together with a rope or a chain, and then they'd see who could pull, and if they didn't have a slab of concrete, they'd have a couple of bloody big slab of steel or whatever.
Yep.
And it became a big thing, and it was sort of almost the forerunner to the burnout thing.
Yep.
So it used to be the van pool, and I recall that because they did it out in the middle of that oval.
Yep.
So that's Heather and I now. So the van's been resprayed, put the bubble windows on the rear wing, and Heather and I looking pretty spishy there, mate.
Pretty tight, pretty
close.
It's
all happening. And then the next shot there is just the van on its own there, looking pretty good. Paint looks good.
Nice and clean.
Nice and clean. And then the engine's obviously had a few bits and pieces. I'm thinking that's not quite in sequence though, that one, but we'll keep moving forward. So that's the manifold, and obviously we've got some chrome rocker covers with the grill badge stuck on them there. So this is at Halls Gap at 79, and the car's there. So obviously mine's Magnum Force, the next one's Fire Truck, which was an XA, so that was a tunnel rammed 351 Hallucinations, and that had the Mad Max style front on it.
Yep.
The same as
Monza
the
style front.
Monza style front.
Yep.
And then the LTD was Total Eclipse. So it ended up being quite good friends with the two on the right, and stayed with them the following year when we went down to Melbourne. So yeah, the van scene was pretty good to us. And the next one there is just another picture of Fire Truck, and I've put that in because I first seen that in Mildura, and from afar basically, and then got to know the guy that owned it, not overly well, but enough to get involved. And I loved the look of that car and what he'd done to it and the styling.
Side pipes and all sorts of things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was like I said, a Clevo with a ram with the pipes and the bubbles, and it just was all going on. So yeah, love that car. So we're getting right into this van thing. But there's still stuff going on at home, of course. So the next phase to what's going on is that, as we've spoke before, Dad was a plumber, then a builder. So we're at that point where been working with Dad a couple of years at the family business, and it was sort of time to think about settling down, got the steady girl, all that sort of stuff. So there were some blocks of land come up, and my brother and Dad sort of were going to have a look and said, you know, you want to come along and you might want to get a block, you might want to start building or whatever. And in Broken Hill, land's very cheap.
Yeah, but not plentiful though.
Not plentiful, but in this particular case there was 5 blocks that had been sitting for some time for some reason. So whether they were held back by council or whatever. And I sort of said to my brother, yeah, look, you know, if something's there, I'm interested. I think by memory they were like a couple of grand for a block of land. So that's all good. They've gone off the auction, have a look, come back, and he says, you want to know where you're going to live? I'm going, oh yeah, what's going on there? He goes, oh well, we went there and there wasn't too many people there, so you know, we grabbed 2 blocks. So you can see the house in the background there almost finished. That was my brother's. Then there was one more block, and then I was the next one. So we lived a couple of doors apart, which turned out pretty handy in the end. So that particular photo, I haven't found a lot of photos of the building of the house, but we worked, the way things worked back then is that we basically worked 7 days a week, whether it was at work or on projects, family or whatever. Everyone put in. So we did the slab ourselves. So, you know, myself, my brother, Dad, and the plumbers, on the day we pour, we'd come in. So we form it, pour the floor. Dad's a plumber, so my brother's a plumber, so we do the plumbing. And then the guy there with the EH wagon, that was George Thompson, old Tomo. So he was a mate of Dad's, and he was a travelling journeyman, and he used to come back to Broken Hill when we had a project on. So Tomo and I, as you can see, I'm kitted up there with an nail bag and stuff on, did the frames. And bricky in, roof tiler in, and then I did, well, Louis and my mate Louis and myself ran all the electrical. So Lou was a registered electrician, and then I did all the gyprock and the plastering and the tiling. So it was about a 18-month bill to build the house. So,
and you were the constant. You were there doing.
I was there. This one's a little bit later. The gardens have grown a bit there, but that's what it looked like when it was finished. Yeah, so we were there 12 years, I think. So I've started building a house now. So when we're at Halls Gap, driving home from Halls Gap, I said to Heather, you know, about getting married. And I always say to people, I proposed to Heather on the way home from Halls Gap, and she goes...
It's not the story that she told me.
Yeah, it was a bit like, didn't you sort of suggest we probably should get married? So I never got down on one knee.
Well, she never said no.
Yeah, I'd never did the whole romantic thing. So anyhow, some pictures are there, the engagement party. So another opportunity to get the glad rags on. Get a nice cake. So yeah, that was all happening. And then at the same time, Heather's mum and dad were tied up heavily with the Sturt Club. That was sort of their local. So it was, you know, a registered club. And they used to have their annual picnic day every year. And my first journey out to the picnic day, I thought, I'll go in the gift.
Well, you've heard of the stall gift.
Yeah, so this was the gift.
Yeah.
So handicap, no one knows who I am. So I got a pretty good handicap and I won the gift.
You're pretty fleet of foot.
So I was pretty happy about that. Yeah. So we had a couple of quiet ones after that, as you do. So that was a little bit of family stuff thrown in there, Dale.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to the
vans. There was a bit going on, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's always a lot going on in my life.
Never dull.
Never dull. So we'd done those few trips, and like I said, we met some people at Halls Gap from Melbourne. So we decided to do a Melbourne run, and we went down, because Melbourne's like 800 k's, 850 k's from Broken Hill. So we worked out when there was a couple of shows on, went down, stayed the week, did 2 shows and took off home again. So the van there's still pretty much as it was at Halls Gap. So that was a show like at a lot of the shows were held at drive-ins, drive-in theatres, back them in. You know, nothing happening on the day there anyhow. So, and you can see now we've gone to the under the bonnet cover. So that had to go in the back of the van, you know, pack all the gear to go to the show. And
great for displays, not so good for daily driving.
Just clip that on for the show. You know, anything for a show. So that was sort of the next phase. And then you can see there, this was the following weekend. It's a bit rainy that day by the look of it. We've gone now to the headlight covers, and I remember going to one of the van shops during the week and had them made and put them on it. So we went covers on the headlights and the tail lights, and sort of progressing along. Pretty happy the way things are going. You can see the side markers at the front now. I've got the ones off the later model with the, sorry, not the later model, off the Fairlane with the chrome around them.
Yes.
So we're just tinkering away, doing a few odds and ends.
You do like your bling, don't you?
Do, mate, yeah.
You're the king of bling.
King of bling. And then upgrade the suspension, the old K-Max sway bar. So that was the Christmas time. So then we got back home, and these here at the local Holden dealer, Donnelly Motors. So Fuzzy's van's in the background there, so Fuzz and I are pretty tight. And we camped together somewhere at these shows.
New set of wheels, by the looks of things, Howard.
So we've upped the ante. Must have got home and had a rush of blood after a few more shows. A lot of those things I either bought second hand and cleaned them up, or I did a deal somewhere and swapped something, or, you know, we built a house, got married, all that sort of stuff. So we were tinkering away, but most of it was done myself. You know, things like the bumpers getting painted and all that, I do all that myself. down the workshop. So Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, pretty much every weekend.
They're pretty easy mods when you think about it. You just need to get in and do it.
Yeah, and put the effort in. So the motor's still looking pretty much the same. And then we had a rush of blood again.
Can't leave things alone, can we?
A couple of the shows I'd been to, people had relocated the battery and those sorts of things. So that was sort of looking, appealed to me. And I remember back when I did this that my brother Reg gave me a hand because he's plumbing now. So all the holes that I wanted to get rid of, he come in and oxy welded those up for me, and I'm sort of watching and learning another trick. So took the battery out, relocated a few things, and I believe at the same time we actually de-wired the engine bay. So we, moved wires down and lengthened looms and all that sort of stuff. So it was sort of that natural progression. And you might have seen the yellow covers and that before. They're old motel curtains. So when we used to upgrade the motel, they'd all get stacked away somewhere. And you would have seen here working here that I've still got bed spreads and all that, from 15 years ago, because it's pretty good stuff to have around. So, and then an engine build at the same time. So
while you're on it,
while we're doing it. So this one was the original motor, but we just stepped it up a bit. Did the heads. Actually, I think I might have built a fresh motor by memory. Got another block, and then we did put 2V heads on it, but 4V valves. The standard old school. It's pretty much what I'm doing in this current van. Actually, the same sort of setup. And we've gone to a Mallory twin point. So I put them in. I'm not 100% sure when that happened in the flow, because I just can't remember. It's too long ago now. But I still had the photos, which was cool. So then I know after that motor went in, Fuzzy and I went down to Adelaide and did a show down there at another drive-in in Adelaide. So that was a really good weekend. And we stayed at, Mum and Dad had a place in Adelaide at the time, and they were parked out the front of the house, had those nice gardens and stuff. So we set the cars up there.
Photo ops.
And fortunately we did, because there's some of the best photos we both got of our cars from that particular day. And at this point, it's still got the bumperettes on it, so there's still a couple of little changes to come, and that's pretty much the best photo I've got, and pretty much how it looked. I don't believe there was too many changes after that from the front of it, at least anyhow. So it's pretty much nutted down. So you can see the 5.8 badges of chrome. Now they were black originally. I don't know why I never changed the door handles. They look like they should have went chrome as well, but it was just that progression of a little bit here, a little bit there.
New front spoiler, all that sort of stuff.
So that one looks like it's a little bit nicer than the other one that was on it a couple of years earlier.
Looks like a proper spoiler.
Looks like a Cobra one, that one. So then the engine bay's, that's out of sequence because it's still got the battery in it. There's another shot here in a minute that'll actually show you with the battery gone. So the trim's changed a bit now. So my idea here was to make the seats look a bit like the Landau. So they had that sort of nice leather button plushy looking deal. So I bought some fabric, the seat covers were on them, I pulled them apart, got Mum's sewing machine out and sewed up the covers. Got the buttons covered, and then the old string with the needle and pull them through and tie them up underneath. So that's what the seats were done in, and obviously that one's had a bit of wear. They looked a bit better than that one.
You wanted to be plush like that shag pile carpet that was in the bottom.
Well, the carpet's still in it, mate.
I know. That's...
So, and we've swapped out the butterfly for a carnation now, so that was Heather's side. So
we've still got the gear knob though.
The gear knob, now that's a point. So guess what?
Still got the gear knob.
Still got the gear knob. So this comes from way back when I was at the dealership, and it was a Honda.
I'm going to say it had to be a Honda part.
Honda part. So that's a Honda 50.
Okay.
New old stock.
Out
of the box. Superseded. So paid probably $2 for it or something. Polished it up, and then we made up a gudgeon for it so it would mount. And then it used to rattle, so I filled it up with silicone. But when the van went, I kept that, and I still kept it. Maybe it can go on this one.
Well, there's a thought.
Maybe it can go on this one. So little things, mate, little things. So then the door trims have been flattened out now. So they're been covered the same as the seats. And then the strip that's running along, I'd say, is probably a boot mould or something. And then the badge on it says custom, which is off the custom Fairlane. Don't know what model, can't remember now, but it's a little custom badge. So just little progressions. So meanwhile, all this is going on. we got engaged. Must be time to get married.
Next step.
So we've gone down, and Heather's family's Catholic. So we've gone to the cathedral and had a bit of a yarn to the minister and checked me out, and whether I was going to pass the grade to be a good Catholic boy. So I signed all the papers and said, yeah, that's all good. We'll raise the kids as Catholics and all that sort of stuff. So went through that. That was all cool. So we picked the date that they had available, pretty much, and where we wanted to fit in.
Yep.
And it just worked out. It was February the 14th. So, mate, I never miss an anniversary.
No,
you've Valentine's Day every
blessed.
year is the anniversary. So I never miss my wedding anniversary. So that's a bit of a blessing.
Yep.
So there we all are. So you can see there the boys. So Fuzzy there, of course, John Oakes, and that's Rowie. And then Heather's friends on the side. So Donna on the right, and then Sue Ellen on the left, and Kathy in the middle, which is now Rob's wife.
There you go.
So, and my niece and my brother-in-law. Geez, how did I get through all that?
You did very well.
You know I'm not really good with names.
No,
I'm terrible with names, so
very
I
impressed.
got through that pretty well. I think I got them all right. So, mate, what do you think of the suit? I was waiting for the comment.
No, I'm just amazed it stayed white.
We'll just move on, will we?
It just stayed white.
So there we are at the cathedral. And it was a good day. The only downside was that it was 45 degrees and it had been over 40 degrees for 14 days leading up to it. So everything was stinking hot.
Yes.
And it was a pretty full-on hot day, and there's no aircon at the cathedral.
No.
So it was pretty warm.
No.
So the cars, mate. Any surprises there?
No, a surprise that there's 3 Cobras? No.
3 Cobras and a GT. All
You
local
can't get away
cars.
from your Cobras.
Well, mate, it was all local cars, and if you think about it, this is 82 now. No, 81.
81.
Yeah,
Yep.
so 81.
Yep.
And the Cobras are like 4-year-old. So there's still drivers.
Yep.
They're just everyday cars.
Just
so
run in.
round them up. Yeah, so that was a good day. It was had by all, and a good night. And then that's the next day. So that's us, Heather and I, all packed, ready to head off on our honeymoon. So where do you reckon we went for honeymoon, mate?
You got out of Broken Hill.
Yep.
Surprised me, Howard.
Swan Hill.
Swan Hill. Got to stay with
I
the
don't know
hill.
how we ended up at Swan Hill, but we stayed because we were in a motel game. We knew a few people, and I think we knew someone there. Then they'd just done some new rooms, had a nice bridal suite and all that sort of stuff. And we went down there, and that was our lash out for the week, mate.
Ooh.
So we took the van, of course.
Of course.
So you can see us there. So
Well, it was the daily driver.
Mum must have been taking a happy snap or something, because it's a bit unusual to get a photo of that.
Yep.
So yeah, that was the honeymoon, and then back home to another van show. So
Well, that's what you were into.
that's what you do, mate. Yeah. So work, play, van shows. So this one's in Broken Hill, as you can tell by the backdrop there. So it's out at the old Police Boys Club, and it's a local show. And Fuzzy and I had pretty much running the van club by that stage, and we were starting to get, because I was going away, we were getting a few people to come up to our show.
Yep.
And it wasn't that one, it was another show we ran that we actually got a couple of the big vans from Melbourne to come down and do the show, which was worked out really good. So this is pretty much getting to the end now of the final scenario where we're up to. And we've lashed out now on the matting.
Mirrored
Mirror
tiles.
tiles underneath, moving up, and of course putting it up on stands on
I think you've
grass.
still
which
got
is
some
a
of
bit
those
annoying.
mirrored tiles, Howard.
I have for sure. I only just got rid of the poles, I reckon.
Yeah.
So there's the first shot of the engine bay with no battery that I could find. It's a pity I got my finger in it as well, but that was the best I could do. And then the rear's now gone to silver Super X. So the
Goes
boat,
faster.
the boat one with all the flake in it, and obviously chrome sway bars and
Bling.
tramp rods.
King of bling.
Looks like a set of petters or a set of conies or something
Conies,
on
I
it.
reckon. Yep.
Probably conies, and a set of homemade tramp rods, pedestrian killers. And that was the last hurrah. So this was local show at the showgrounds, and I think that might have been. No, it wasn't when the boys come down, because I recall that was a different event. But that's sort of really it in its heyday, and we were fortunate enough to pick up Top Van, mate.
Top Van.
And I've still got the
man with the sash.
The man with the sash over the shoulder. So, wish I had the shoulder still. So, all of those things got collected. So that's obviously in the house, and where that car's parked there now is where the next car got built, in that little garage on the house.
Yeah.
So, the black and white photo, I got the local paper to take that photo for me, as they do when you take an ad out. And I took an ad in the local paper to try and unload the car. Just after the one Top Van, I thought,
now's a good time while you're on top.
While we're on top in the town, on the old van scene, we'll probably move it on. And the reason that was happening was because we're announcing that we're going to have a baby.
A little Astill.
A little Astill. So Heather tells me when I asked her about that photo, we were heading out to a wedding or something there, but threw that in for a couple of reasons. Is first to remind me that we're about to have a baby, but secondly, you can see the back bumper's done. So that's the only shot I've got with that rear bumper,
With
the full piece. So that's a wagon bumper,
Yep.
So that was sort of the final photo with the van, and things were moving on. And Lee was born 2nd of December 82. So there's proud dad. So that's at home actually. That's probably a little bit out of sequence, Howard, but that's me and young Lee. And then that's Heather getting picked up from the hospital.
Not in a panel van.
No panel van. So I ended up doing a deal with a local bloke, and he traded a GXL on the van. So we did a swap with some coin, and part of that deal was that he didn't really have enough money, so we took the diff out of the van, the 9-inch, pinched the 9-inch to go in the next project, and took the good motor out, and put a standard one back in it for him, and then took this as well, and did a bit of a deal, and he ended up with the van, and I had a family car and some bits for the next one.
Very good.
So that's sort of that progression, and then that's at Mum and Dad's.
So this is Christmas 82?
Looks like Christmas, so he'd be a few weeks old.
Well, you'd have to have a reason to wear that hat, Howard, so I'm saying Christmas. Right.
Yeah, good point. You like me teddy as well?
Yeah, I wasn't going to talk about your teddy, but
now I don't know if it's
each to their own. No, it's definitely Christmas.
See that, mate? I got my calculator watch on.
Oh, the Casio.
Can you see that?
That'll be a Casio. Yep.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's 82.
Yep.
So that's pretty much where life's up to now. So we've gone through the van.
Yep.
Got ourselves a house. Had a new baby.
Things have moved on.
Yep. Life's changing a bit, and things are progressing at work, which we'll get into on the next one. So the next photo there's that young bloke now has popped up a little bit, and that's the next build. So that became rock solid, and that's probably the one that people are waiting to see, because I've got a reasonable amount of build shots of that car.
Yep.
So we're going to cover that next time. But before we do, I've got some van photos.
Ooh, goody.
So we'll run through those, and these are some from all of those shows that we've just seen.
Yep.
And I don't have a lot of photos, but I've got some, so I'm going to run through them reasonably quickly, but we'll cover them. So Total Eclipse, which we had in one of the other photos, but a much nicer photo. And then I don't necessarily know all these cars, but obviously Bionic, Spider Van, Time Phase. I always liked that paint job, and I've seen that on a few cars, just for the ability to be able to do that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Make it, and pull it off, make it look good.
Yeah, and I'm thinking this is a special van that evolved, and for the life of me right at the minute I can't remember the name of it, but it was on the cover of Street Machine and all that. I'll make myself look silly now, but I'm going to move on. I think Mandarin Dragon. Not sure about that one. That was a big thing, the double cut bumper. You know, the cut bumper with a double grille.
Double grille.
And then the Perspex bonnet. Save you lifting it up to have a look, mate.
Yep.
And then another Mandarin, but that one was, I can't read that from here, Dale, but the Judge. There was a few big vans in that colour and that style. Rest Point. The engine bay on Rest Point. Nice ute. Fire truck next to it, so that looks like it's Mildura. Don't know the name of that one. I'm sure someone will fill us in on that one. See the long bubble windows in that? They've cut the middle bar out.
Yep.
Another double grille, bit later model.
Custom everything, isn't it?
Yeah. XB. Teardrop side, bubble roof rack, centre aerial, side scoops, side pipes, LTD front, and it's got LTD rear markers on the side, and the coupe side and the fuel fillers. It's got a lot going on.
I don't think people realise how big the van scene was.
It's huge, mate.
It was massive, and it was a precursor to. I mean, Summernats wasn't around when all this was happening, was it? Like,
well, even the Australian Street Machine Federation really come out of the van scene in the very late 70s.
Yep.
I think Narandra, the first one, was 74, and it started to really grow, and then a lot of the guys out of the van scene got involved in the federation and sort of went through. So I had quite a few trim shots, but nothing that I sort of wanted to jump. This one sort of popped out at me, but I see the guy in the reflection on the left with the sunnies on. It's not me, but it's someone. It's pretty cool. Now this car here, I don't know my Holdens well enough, but I think it's a HG, and this was one of the first cars that I seen really well detailed, and there's some more photos that obviously jumped out of sequence. Another double fronted, hallucinations with that Mad Max looking nose, Monza front. That's the rear of fire truck. Back to the front again.
I think
no more buttons.
That's
we're at the end. I don't know what's happened to my photos of that HG because I was sure I had them in there, but it was the first car I'd seen that had the detail where the brake drum was off and all inside was chromed. And
wow.
Yeah, full on. So I'll put them in next time.
Yeah. That'll be our homework for next episode.
That'll be the homework. So, mate, look, thanks very much again for coming over and spending the time and helping me out to get through the process.
Good trip down memory lane.
It is, mate, and I'm really it's quite labour intensive to get the photos together and lay it up, but I am still enjoying it. It's only 3 done, and we've got a few to go. But
thanks. We're going to have a new car next episode.
Yes, so we're really into the full-on show car side of things next time. So designated show car rather than a really nice driver.
Yep.
And that car was a 4-year build.
Yeah, a lot more build shots. Yeah.
Be more build shots, and of course everyone knows it got a rebuild. So we'll see how much time it takes, whether we do both builds in the one episode, or I'm thinking there'll be 2 episodes. And yeah, I'll drag all that together and get all the info. So thanks for coming along, and if you enjoy what you're watching, subscribe to the channel, click the like button, make some comments, ask some questions. It all helps for what we're doing with the channel, and really appreciate you being with us. Thank you again, Dale.
Thanks, Howard.
Thanks, guys.